Hello there! This video is all about job insecurity. So if you selected job insecurity as the measure of work stress that you want to focus on for your applied activity, then this lecture is for you, and you'll learn about what job insecurity is, how it's measured, the process of job insecurity, and then finally some ways to cope with job insecurity. Also, if you selected role stress for the applied activity, you do not have to watch this video. Make sure you watch the role stress video. So, job insecurity is really most commonly conceptualized as a subjective phenomenon that's really best understood in the eye of the beholder. So, that's really what subjective means, right? It's all about perception, just like much of stress research. Perception matters. And job insecurity is often measured by asking employees to indicate their perceived likelihood of losing one's job, regardless of the actual likelihood. Perceived likelihood of job loss, or the loss of desired conditions of the job. So, from this perspective, job insecurity can be defined as the perception that the future of one's job is unstable or at risk. Again, regardless of any actual objective level of job security. So regardless of an actual threat of job loss. It's all about perception. Interestingly, though, research generally has found that subjective perceptions of job insecurity are more highly related to employee job health and psychological outcomes. So the subjective job insecurity, feeling that your job is insecure, the perceived likelihood of job loss, tends to be more strongly related to those strain outcomes than actual objective job insecurity, than the actual risk of job loss. So again, perception matters a lot, just like the majority of stress theories suggest in general. There's also different types of job insecurity, different types of perceived or subjective job insecurity. So we have affective, which is really just about job insecurity reflecting an emotional or attitudinal reaction. So for example, an attitudinal or an emotional reaction to potential job loss would be concern or worry or anxiety. There's also more cognitive types of stress related to job insecurity, and this really reflects the perceptions of the likelihood of negative changes. So more of an evaluation than a reaction. So again, it's, the likelihood of negative changes to one's job. So feeling that threat of job loss or the loss of valued job features. So cognitive is kind of the evaluation, and then affective is the emotional reaction to those job insecurities. In recent years, researchers have argued that both affective and cognitive job insecurity need to be measured in order to adequately capture the full impact of job insecurity. So consider both of these as you think about your applied activity and, reflecting on the job insecurity that you're experiencing. So look at this beast right here. All right. So job insecurity is a very complex construct, but I actually developed this comprehensive model of the current state of research on job insecurity that really captures the bulk of job insecurity theory and research. And this is actually included in a book chapter that I helped author in the Oxford Handbook of Job Loss and Job Search. So if we're looking about this, let's kind of think about this model. So if you notice in the model, there's 3 sources of job insecurity that also impact the relationship between job insecurity and outcomes. So these are kind of our stressors, our socioeconomic conditions, organizational characteristics, and even individual characteristics. Those are our stressors that then all lead to the stress of the perceived job insecurity and anticipated job loss. So for socioeconomic conditions, this can be like mass layoff events, like unemployment, national and local unemployment, unemployment rates, the economy. Organizational characteristics can be like organizational performance or success of the organization, a formal announcement of actually layoffs at that company, not just mass layoffs across the country, or maybe an upcoming merger or acquisition, or maybe some restructuring or downsizing. Right? So if the economy is doing poorly, people are losing their jobs, automation is taking away factory work, there's mass layoffs across the country, those are all socioeconomic conditions that are, of course, going to lead to you perceiving that job insecurity. Like, oh my gosh, my job's at risk. Then within the organization you work for, right? If the organization isn't doing very well, if you're working at a restaurant in the mall and nobody's coming, right? You're going to be freaking out about how long is this place going to last. If there's actual layoffs at the organization, or if there's mergers, restructuring, or downsizing where they're going to change the makeup of the workforce in some way, of course, that's going to make people feel a little unease about their job or losing desired job characteristics. And then some individual characteristics are thinking about like the individual differences that increase an individual's vulnerability to being laid off or experiencing job insecurity. So these can be like vulnerability. So these types of things can be like employee personality. So if you have a personality clash with your boss, neuroticism is really strongly related to job insecurity. Also, your employment contract, the nature of your employment contract really has a big difference. For me, I just got tenure this year, so I don't have job insecurity. In fact, I have one of the most secure jobs you could ask for. I'm not at risk of being fired unless I do something like really horrible or illegal, which I don't plan on doing. Union status, right? That can help prevent job insecurity. Proximity to the core mission of an organization. So if you have a job that's really focused on delivering what the organization is focused on, you have less job insecurity than if you have a more peripheral job where you're kind of an assistant on the outskirts of the core mission. So, for instance, at Nevada State, a lot of people feel like professors are like the core employees, right? Because people are coming here to get an education from us. But the staff that work here are also extremely important to the mission, but I think some of the staff don't feel like they're core to the mission, so they feel like maybe they're more expendable than the faculty are, even though they're just as valued as the faculty. Also, performance. If you're a crappy performer, your job may be on the line. And then prior layoff experience. If you've been burned before, you're going to be scared about being burned again. So it's important to note also that the process of job insecurity appears to be cyclical. And what I mean by that is that these job insecurity related behaviors, right? So you perceive this job insecurity, you have a reaction to that, and then you change your behavior. So these behavioral outcomes, which can include, slacking off or having less job satisfaction or lack of trust in management or wanting to quit your job, those then can have an impact on the success of an organization or organizational well-being, how well the organization is doing, which can then have an impact on those organizational characteristics and then feed back into job insecurity. So it is a cycle, and it can be a vicious cycle if it gets out of control. So I already kind of mentioned some outcomes of job insecurity, the things that are over here and here. But I want to get into more specifics and some of the most commonly typed or most commonly studied outcomes of job insecurity. So the vast majority of research has really focused on the negative impact of job insecurity on job-related attitudes, not as much on, your overall health and well-being. And actually, there were 2 meta-analysis summaries of dozens of studies that indicate that job insecurity is consistently related to less job satisfaction, less organizational commitment. You feel less emotionally attached to the organization. A lack of trust in management. which can relate to a whole lot of other bad things. Low job involvement. So you start to kind of care less and work less because you don't feel like you're going to be there much longer. And also, high turnover intentions. You're like, oh, fine, you want to put my job at risk? I need to get out of here before they get rid of me, right? You can't fire me, I quit. But that's only the case if the person is actually employable, if they have some job prospects beyond that organization. So, as you can see, job insecurity has a whole host of negative outcomes that hurt the individual, but especially hurt the organization, which could then, right, feed back into problems with the organization that could fuel more job insecurity. So now let's focus on how to cope with this terrible situation, right? So there's many traits that individuals have that make them more or less susceptible to perceived job insecurity, like cultural values. But I'm just going to focus on individual differences that are actually amenable to change. So the first one is enhancing your employability. So developing transferable job skills. Specifically, you want to look at marketable job skills, right? You don't want to be developing job skills that aren't going to help you get a job. So in this day and age, hard work and loyalty does not always equal job security. The age of lifetime employment is really a thing of the past. Now we're more focused on lifetime employability. That's really the new concept of job security. Not, I'm going to have this job for the rest of my life, but I'm going to be able to get a job no matter what. Be loyal to yourself, your work, and your profession. So how can you do this, right? How can you enhance employability? So take advantage of any employee development opportunities. So if there's employee development opportunities like trainings or workshops or anything that the company is offering, take advantage of it. And this is good for two reasons. It's going to help you build your resume, but it's also going to help you build your value within the current organization and show that you're a go-getter and that you want to do better and you want to move up within the company. You can also seek additional training if it's offered, or certificates. And even if it's not offered, you can seek these things out. And it's also important to seek out these development opportunities and training and certifications before you need it, so that you set yourself up to be successful when a layoff happens. Research really suggests that feeling like you could easily get another comparable job reduces the negative impact of job insecurity on depression, irritation, sickness, and life satisfaction. If you feel like you could easily get another job, but it's not as good as the one that you have, then it's not going to have as much of a buffering effect on those negative outcomes. So another way to deal with job insecurity is to seek support. Just like if you have issues with role conflict, seeking support is important. Same goes with job insecurity. So you can make connections with colleagues or with your supervisors or with customers, people that you interact with on the job. And this support can really help you find ways to help each other and to just kind of deal with what's going on. So support at work can either be emotional, so providing like comfort and commiseration, so being able to vent to a trusted colleague or to talk to your supervisor about what's going on so they can help you deal with it. Also instrumental, which is actions that can actually assist you. So maybe mentoring at your current job, like having somebody who's going to provide you with those career development opportunities, or maybe someone who's willing to help with a cover letter for a job application if you're looking for a new job. Support at work reduces the negative effects of job insecurity on job-related outcomes, and it really helps deal with the effects of job insecurity on job satisfaction, wanting to quit, counterproductive work behaviors, and work detachment. So support is really powerful. Now, support from friends and family tends to reduce the negative effects of job insecurity on health and psychological outcomes like life satisfaction and mental health. So support at work buffers the effects of job insecurity on work outcomes. And support at home or support from friends and family on health. And this is the symbol for psychology, psychological outcomes. I actually have a tattoo with that symbol in it that I got after I got my master's degree. Again, support from family and friends helps buffer the effects of that. And both are important. Okay, finally, and there's actually quite a bit of research on this, is seeking information and having information provided can help you cope with job insecurity. So even when the outcome itself is not positive, or when the outcome is negative, advance notice regarding the future of one's job can be beneficial. Specifically, research indicates that some of the negative consequences of job loss can be mitigated with a 30 to 60 day notice. That 30 to 60 day notice appears to be that sweet spot of dealing with impending job loss. But too much advance notice can actually be more stressful because you know it's coming, but it's too early to do something about it, so you just dread it. Being informed really helps prepare for re-entering the job market, so you can prepare for re-entering the job market because you have time to seek that training and to find job prospects. Of course, it can help reduce uncertainty, and uncertainty can lead to wild perceptions about job insecurity that may or may not even be true, but knowing what to expect and knowing what's really going on can reduce the impact or the propensity to feel like things are worse than they are. It can also help you deal with negative emotions. So it can help you deal with the negative emotions over job loss. You can deal with the grief or the guilt or the despair and the rumination before you actually have to take action and start finding work. Also, being informed helps you feel better about the process. It enhances your perceived fairness of the process because at least they're being open and honest with you and not being shady about what's going on. So while there may really be no way to avoid job loss under certain conditions, you can do things to be more prepared and to buffer the negative consequences. So if you are experiencing job insecurity, I really hope that these suggestions have helped you and have given you something to think about as you complete your applied activity.